This is a Kia EV6 GT. It is the most powerful series production car that Kia have ever built. It has 577 brake horsepower and it will do 0 to 60 miles an hour in just 3.5 seconds. Now let me put that into context for you. This has 100 horsepower more than a Porsche 911 Carrera S, and it also does the 0 to 60 time a lot quicker than the Porsche too. However, what I have here is a Tesla Model S Plaid, and it's fair to say that it is a lot more powerful than the Porsche and the Kia. In fact, it has the same power output as both of those cars combined, over 1,000 brake horsepower. Welcome to this week's road test review, welcome to the frankly insane Tesla Model S Plaid, and as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, before we get started on this week's road test review of Tesla's new Model S Plaid, it is of course that time where I ask you to make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure that you then press the little bell button that's down below, because in that way you'll be notified of when our next video is uploaded and goes live. Once you've watched the video, if you do enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And of course, don't forget, leave us your comments down below as well. Let us know what your thoughts are on the cars we review, such as the new Tesla Model S Plaid, and of course on the AutoEV channel as a whole. So Tesla's Model S, a bit of a confession to make actually. This was not only the first car that I road tested for AutoEV when we were a magazine years and years ago rather than a YouTube channel, but it was also the first electric car that I'd ever driven. You see, this really was the first Tesla, apart from the Roadster, that sort of like laid the groundworks for them as a motoring manufacturer. It was launched in 2012, coming to Europe in 2013, and as I say, people started taking notice of Tesla very much so. But of course, since then, they've expanded, and of course, we've now got the Tesla Model 3 and the Model Y, which really are the golden eggs of the company, if you will. So you'd be forgiven for thinking that Tesla had kind of forgotten all about the Model S. Well, no, they've been hard at work improving it and tweaking it, and now it's back, better than ever, perhaps. But before we move on, let's take a look at what the Model S is all about. Well, like I said, it was the brand's first series production car, first introduced in 2012, with right-hand drive production starting 2 years later. Whilst many over-the-air updates and specification changes have taken place over the years, the car received its first facelift in 2016 to bring the design in line with the then new Model X SUV. The Model S is available in two versions in the UK, either the long range or the more powerful Plaid variant. It has an estimated usable battery capacity of 95 kilowatt hours, with a WLTP range being either 394 miles for the long range car or 373 miles for the Plaid. And it's priced in the UK from just over £93,000 to just over £113,500, depending on the model. However, there is a couple of issues with this car. The first of which is this: you can't actually buy your own specification of a Tesla Model S. In other words, you have to choose what Tesla have in their inventory in the UK. And then there's the biggest problem of them all. You see, earlier this year, despite having a lot of orders for the car, despite having deposits held against cars, Tesla took the rather sudden decision to announce it wasn't going to build them in right-hand drive. In other words, it's left-hand drive only for the Tesla Model S or the Model X SUV. Is that going to be an issue for you? Would you buy a left-hand drive car in the UK? How much of a problem is it going to be? Well, the only way we're going to find out is by putting it through the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to delivering the verdict on a potential new electric car. And that is, of course, the AutoEV one. Now, as usual, we'll start with styling, which in a Tesla review is normally a bit of an issue. For me and most of our viewers who like to comment on it, because I'm not Tesla's biggest fan when it comes to styling. However, here's a bit of a shock for you. I like the look of this car. In fact, this is Tesla's best looking car, without doubt. I think there's something a bit more cohesive about its design. That's kind of squatness on the road. It's in better proportion than the smaller Model 3 and the frankly ludicrous looking Model Y, in my opinion. I think this is a good looking car, I really do, and it's got better looking with age. When the car was first launched, it had that kind of big, kind of black, kind of almost like a false grille on the front, but they got rid of that in the 2016 facelift, and they've kept that sort of look going forward. It's had a bit of a tweak since then, because the car's actually been off sale in the UK for a couple of years now, because they say they were doing these little updates and they're kind of rejigging the range, and they say that's when they took that really odd decision just earlier this year. People knew the car was coming back, so they gave deposits against it, and then Tesla turned and says, well, we're going to build them in left-hand drive now. There you go. But that's for another argument. The styling, I like it. It's a good looking car, and as I say, they've tweaked it a little bit. It's still not perfect, but I have to admit, as I say, I really do like it. You get these really nice kind of sharp headlights here with the kind of signature kind of DRLs that are in there. I like this kind of jutting kind of front splitter here and these kind of integrated lights down here. I think that's really smart. And of course, it doesn't have a grille because you don't need it. Cooling's done obviously down at the bottom there, but you just get the Tesla logo in there, and this the kind of nice kind of little V shape that comes along sort of like the leading edge of the bonnet. And then you get these nice sharp kind of creases that run up through the bonnet into the shoulder line. But as I say, I think this is a good looking car. Make a note when I said that. Now, 19-inch wheels are standard on the car. This is the optional 21-inch arachnid wheels, finished in this graphite grey colour. I'd probably choose these 21-inch wheels if I'm honest with you, because I think they just fill the arches a bit better and make it look a bit more in proportion. So that's probably an option that I would choose if it was my car. I'm not so keen on black wheels, but most people do seem to like them, so fair dues. As I say, you've got this nice sharp line that kind of cuts through that front wing, disappears in the door, and then reappears here at the back into the rear kind of haunch. Tesla did away with the chrome on the facelifted car, so all the cars have what they call a kind of black pack now, although I'd quite like to have seen the door handles colour coded. Talking of the doors, they are frameless, as you can see, and of course you get the acoustic glass now fitted as standard as well, which helps keep the kind of interior noise down too. But yeah, on the whole, I think this is a good looking car. Now, it's a liftback, unlike the booted Model 3 saloon, so you've got this lovely kind of sloping rear hatch there, and as usual with Tesla, you get the plethora of cameras to aid with all the safety system and all the bits and pieces that you get inside to help with the autonomy that Tesla's autopilot has become. But yeah, as I say, nice, sleek, good looking, in proportion saloon car. I do like this. And around the back, well, again, very, very similar to the Tesla Model S that we've known for so long now, with a few of those small changes. As I say, you can see they've done away with the chrome. You get this black pack now, as I say, with the Tesla lettering emboldened into it, and then on the Plaid model you get this nice little carbon blade boot spoiler, which I think is really quite nice actually. This badge here is the Plaid model. Now Plaid, let me explain the name. It's to do with the film Spaceballs, when the the spaceship goes into ludicrous mode. In other words, what the previous Model S had is its sort of like fastest mode. Plaid is when the ship goes one stage further, and that's the reason for it. It's even got that's the badge, the graphic is that from the film where it goes into Plaid mode. So there you go. Really silly name. Wouldn't be my cup of tea, but there you go. What else have you got? Rear lights, they've had a slight redesign as well, but they're pretty much similar. Down the bottom you've got this kind of black diffuser, your reflectors down there, and as I say, if you look at it, it's just a better proportioned car than the Model 3. It doesn't have that kind of more kind of upright but too narrow look about it. They've really actually got this car right, I think, in terms of proportions and stance. However, all isn't perfect. Just while we're talking about it, let me just say, the build quality, while better, still isn't perfect. To my eyes, there's still two big panel gaps around the car, and it's just a misalignment of some panels that I don't think is right on a car of this price. But in terms of its design, as I say, I think it's the best looking Tesla. But what do you think? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, when I do these reviews, I spend quite a lot of time researching the cars that I test in terms of, things like luggage capacity and stats for this, stats for that. Now, this has been a really difficult one because Tesla quote the luggage capacity of the Model S as 793 litres. But one thing Tesla do is they quote a luggage capacity right up the top. In other words, they don't include the parcel shelf. So to get an accurate figure, I had to look elsewhere. And one website, I think it's howmanybagsfit.com, said something that was just under 400 litres. But I can't see it being that because to me, that's much bigger than 400 litres. So I'm not quite sure if I'm completely honest with you. And I have a funny feeling that Tesla's figure also includes the front capacity, which I'll show you in a second. Anyway, whatever the space is, it's big, it's good. As you can see, it fits the 4 AutoEV suitcases with bags more space for, you know, soft bags, camera bags, rucksacks, whatever. Rigid parcel shelf, which obviously just folds up, or you can take it completely. So yeah, there is a good amount of space in here. It's certainly a very, very practical car in terms of, you know, being a saloon. And as I say, like the Mercedes-Benz EQS, it has the hatchback practicality. So that is another feather in its cap, if you will. There's also good underfloor storage, as you'd expect, because it's a Tesla. So there's plenty of space down in there. I mean, it's got its charging cable there. But again, as I say, I have a funny feeling Tesla's figure might include the capacity from there up to the actual roof height. But either way, whatever the size of the boot is, it's more than ample, I would suggest. Now, you get a standard 60-40 split rear seat as well, so you can increase that capacity as well. So I really don't think you need much more of that than that, do you? However, if you do need extra space, then like I say, and typical Tesla, you do get more space under the front bonnet. 79 litres of extra space, which, although this car's filled with a charging cable and it's warning triangle kind of paraphernalia, if you take all that out, 79 litres, there's enough space in there for a couple of, I don't know, rucksacks or a couple of softer, smaller bags or such like. So again, a very, very practical car. But like I was saying earlier, it's just things like that. It just feels like a real flimsy bonnet, especially when you close it. And this wing sits proud of the bonnet on this side, but yet doesn't on this side. It's an inconsistent panel gap. Those are the little things that just kind of irk me a little bit with Tesla. Now, rear accommodation. Well, that's not too bad actually. It's pretty decent, and it's got a nice shape to the seat as well. So it is quite a comfortable place to sit back here, in fairness. Oh, let me just turn that off. I'll explain about this screen just in a second. Let's just first of all talk about space. It's good. You've got this flat floor, as you'd expect. You do feel slightly, I mean, as you know, I'm 5'7", 5'8". That's my driving position. So I've got bags of space. My seat's really low, but you know, I can get my feet underneath it. But I would suggest maybe if you're maybe 6 foot, you'd find your legs maybe pushed up a little bit. But not uncomfortably so in some respects. Headroom's good for me, but again, if you're approaching sort of like the 6 foot mark, it's just where this roof starts to kind of slope back a little bit. You'd find it not tight, but you'd be aware of the fact that it's starting to encroach on you a little bit. But for normal height people like kind of me or smaller children, there's enough space back here. Obviously, you've got this big panoramic glass roof which floods the cabin in with light, as does this white trim. I'm not suggesting this would be a great colour for kids, but there you go. Storage, right, okay, so there are small door bins at the back. They won't accommodate a water bottle. My daughter found that out this morning. She had to hand it to me to have in the front. But there's enough space in them for like kind of sweeties or whatever they have back here. Also as well, you can fold down, get the button right, this centre armrest, where you've also got the cup holders there, so of course that's fine for them. And if you lift up this, there's a small amount of storage here. But importantly, 2 wireless charging pads for mobiles back here, so that's good. So there's 2 in the front and 2 in the back, so there's plenty of charging opportunities for mobiles for all 4 occupants if they have them. So that's good, that's a really nice addition. So that I do like. Right, as I say, you've now got this screen in the rear of the car where the rear passengers can control certain elements. So they can control the climate system, they can also control that passenger seat as well. So if a person there needs a little bit more room, they can budge the passenger seat forward. There's heating elements in the rear seats as well, so that's controlled from there. But then they can also control entertainment. So, you know, whether you're listening to Spotify, you've got that up there, or you've also got Netflix, YouTube, Disney Plus as well, and something called Twitch, which I've no idea what that is. Now, my daughter and her friend were in the car this morning and they were watching their YouTube channels on, not AutoEV, strangely enough, but they were watching a YouTube channel in the back of the car this morning. And I did ask them, I said, you know, how is it in terms of if you're doing a long journey? Is that big enough for you? And they were like, yeah, that's a really nice size of screen to sit and watch. So that's a really welcome addition. especially on sort of like, you know, a car with kind of family connotations towards it. So yes, well done Tesla, that's excellent, and it works really, really well. My daughter was saying, she said it's really slick to use, and you know, just the kind of software that Tesla's renowned for. So really good to see in that. Talking to children, Isofix points, they're nice, easy, accessible, dead easy to get to, so you're not, as I say, prodding the prongs of the seat through them. They're easy to just clip in there. And you also get 2 USB-C ports there as well. So, enough space for most people, unless you're sort of like Andre the Giant, or you're sitting behind, you know, sort of like a massive basketball player. New tech in the back, which got the big thumbs up from the kids this morning. And as I say, you know, enough storage and the addition of those wireless charging pads. So a really decent car in terms of rear accommodation and things for rear passengers. Now, big changes to the interior of the Model S, as you can see. And, you know, I've always really liked Tesla's interiors. I always liked, you know, the Model 3 and the Model Y when we've had them in terms of the interior. But I think this is, again, like the outside, this is the best one. And there's a couple of reasons for that, which I'll talk about in a second. So the first, but it's not perfect, far from it. And, you know, we'll talk about that in a second as well. Right, so the big change to the Model S is the new screen, which is a bit more integrated into the dashboard than you get in the Model 3 and the Model 3 and the Model Y. And it's 17-inch, and it's as slick to use as you'd expect from Tesla. I absolutely love Tesla's infotainment screens. As I've always said, it's like going into a new sort of like smartphone when you first get it. It takes you a little while to figure out what everything is because there's so much in it. But once you know what everything is, it's really good to use and really slick. So you swipe in from the side here, and there's all your car controls there. So to adjust pedals and steering, to adjust your different modes, your different driving modes, steering modes, that's where that is there. You can adjust the suspension, there's air suspension, and you can adjust that as well to see how you want it in terms of ride height and your adaptive damping. Okay, so that's fine. Charging the autopilot system, that's there. The lock and unlock, all your lights, so your lights are there as well. And display. Now, what I do like about this display is you can move it. So if you want it tilted towards the driver, that's good. I think that's excellent. So it's really focused, like the old kind of BMW style dashboards, it's really focused in on the driver. Or if your passenger was using it, for instance, to maybe, I don't know, use the Netflix or the Spotify, that would play with the navigation while you were driving, you can tilt it more towards them. Brilliant. I like that a lot. I think that's phenomenal. And of course, you've got your usual kind of Tesla things as well, where you can adjust the temperature, the airflow from here as well. So depending how you want the vents to go, you can split them and change the airflow itself and temperature and everything from there. So it's all good, and they say it's only just a swipe away, so it's not buried, sort of like deep into the menu systems. You just swipe up, and there's your climate control. Same things like, your Bluetooth, your Spotify. Spotify's inbuilt into the car. You just use a QR code now and sign into it, and that's it. That's all my Spotify there. Of course, you've got your usual stuff. You've got your toy box, I think they call it as well. My daughter was using this the other day, sketch pad. She was enjoying like drawing things on here. And then of course you've got your silly. Yeah, that's still there as well. So yeah, it's really, really good. And as I say, it's a really slick system to use. The navigation's excellent. It's really, really easy to use. The big difference that I love about the Model S interior over the Model 3 and Model Y, however, is this. You get a display in front of the driver, which is the only thing that I don't like about the smaller Teslas. Everything's on the screen, so you're trying to see where your speed is. You don't on the Model S. It's there right in front of you, and it's crisp and clear. Everything that you need to know at a glance is there. So it'll have your speed on there, your range to go, your outside temperature, your time, all the rest of it. That's all there. And of course, when you're driving, it comes up to show you, obviously, your lane guidance and where the cars are that are surrounding you with the cameras on the side. That's all displayed there. So that, I think, is a really brilliant upgrade. I love the interior of this car in terms of, the displays and everything else. However, as I said, it's not perfect, and it comes to this part here where it's not perfect. Now, you can get the Model S and the Model X with this new yoke style steering wheel. They had one at Tesla the other day when I went and picked this car up. I haven't driven it, but I sat in it. I'm not convinced about it. But my big issue is this. There's no column stocks anymore. Indicators are now controlled on the steering wheel, and they're on the left spoke by a button. And then turn left or turn right. Now that's a problem in the UK, and I'll tell you why. Because you go into a roundabout and you don't know which way is up. You don't know which button it is. It takes too long to figure out to press an indicator. What was wrong with leaving it on a column stock Tesla? Why did you go and muck it up by doing that? And it is a problem. I'll tell you now, I don't like it at all. And they've done it now on the facelifted Model 3. It's a stupid idea. Ferrari do it as well, in fairness, but they have separate buttons. So at least if you're crossed up, you've got a relatively good idea of which one's which. But not on this, when they're on the same side of the spoke. It's silly, and I don't like it. Lights are there as well. So your lights are on there as well, as is the horn, your speed limiter and your wash wipe, and obviously for your voice activation. You still got the two little scroll wheels that you use to adjust things. So for instance, you want to adjust your mirror, you select the mirrors in the screen there and you use one of the scroll wheels to adjust it. So I quite like that, and they're nice, and they've got quite a nice kind of tactile feel to them. So when you're scrolling up and down or opening your volume, they've got a nice little kind of click to them. So that's good, but that's silly. And that shouldn't, I don't think that should have happened. I personally think that's the wrong move, Tesla. Right, what else? As I said before, 2 wireless charging pads now for your mobile and passenger mobile. That's nice. Storage is excellent. You get door bins in the Model S now as well, which are fairly good, and you can actually fit, you know, a water bottle into the door bins. But as you can see, you've also got your cup holders here, which actually can also fold away to give you much bigger storage. I mean, there's like the depth of that storage bin is huge. Or you put the other ones back and you've got cup holders. That's excellent. You've also got this centre cubby as well, which is big enough for an iPad mini I should say. That'll fit down in there, so that's nice. And as I say, you get door bins as well. So excellent storage, as we come to expect from Tesla. Driving position. The driving position is excellent. Seats are comfortable. They really are. They hold you nicely, and there is a sort of like a nice kind of feeling of quality to the materials that Tesla are using in the car as well. So you get this kind of gloss, sort of like carbon finish here, and then on the side there you've got a kind of tweed-like material down on the doors, and then this kind of sort of like man-made leather elsewhere. It's still not perfect. It's a bit like the outside. You know, that's quite hard. That's not like a soft touch kind of rubber dashboard. It's just a hard surface. It's been coated, and the same with this kind of carbon fibre. Whilst it's a little bit different, I don't think it adds anything to the car. And in terms, as I say, we'll talk about price later, but in terms of the price point of this car and maybe what it's going to compete with, other manufacturers do an awful lot better. But it is an improvement, and Tesla are getting there, which is very, very good. So, summary. Welcome change to the design of the interior, and as I say, like the outside being the best looking Tesla, I think this is the best interior for Tesla. That screen's brilliant. I like the fact you can change it, you can angle it to where you need it to be. I like the fact that it's really, really quick response. I like the fact that everything that you need to get to, you know, is just there, it pops up, and everything's really, really very easy to use. I don't like this, however. That's the one thing I will say. This silly indicator thing on the steering wheel really does ruin it for me in terms of that. I just wish they'd left the column stock. Oh, as well as that, the way you actually drive off in the car now is through the screen. So you put your foot on the brake and then you swipe up to move forward or swipe back to go back and press P for park. And again, that's coming on the Model 3. Why, Tesla? Why does it need to be that? What was wrong with just the little stalk at the side for up, you know, for drive and stuff? Otherwise, a successful upgrade on the interior. Now, Tesla don't quote an official battery capacity, but the Model S has a usable capacity of 95 kilowatt hours, and that should see a WLTP range of up to 375 miles on this Plaid model. So if you were to look at real world range, then you're certainly in excess of 300 miles from this car, which is a good workable range. And we've always found Teslas to be very efficient and very good at getting close to those official figures. So yeah, certainly in excess of 300 miles you'll get out of this car. Now if you're charging it, it'll take charging speeds of up to 250 kilowatts. So if you're at Tesla's excellent supercharger network, or you may be using one of those big 350 kilowatt Ionity chargers, you'll do your benchmark 10 to 80% in the usual 30 minutes. And if you're charging it from flat to full from your 7 kilowatt wall box at home, then it's going to take 15 hours. Now, before we set off and do a performance handling set, this is the gear shift now, so it's on this screen. Now the Model 3, the facelifted Model 3, which was just shown this week, this is going to get this as well. It's not difficult to use, so I'm not going to complain about it, but I do think it's a tiny bit unnecessary. I would like the old column stock, but you know, fair enough. It's not the worst aspect of the car. Anyway, so you swipe in the direction of travel, so we're going backwards. And you get all the cameras come up round here, which tells us where we're going and shows the great cameras on the Tesla. They really are, they're superb. It's one thing I will say about Tesla is the tech on it, you cannot deny it is superb. All the models, not just this Model S, it is a superb tech fest if you're into all that. So there we stop and then we just swipe forward to go. If you want to park, you just press P for park. So yeah, as I say, it's not my favourite thing. It's not the worst thing in the world. Here we go. Right, so the Plaid. It's 3 motors, okay? It produces 1,020 brake horsepower, which is, I mean, Tesla say this thing will do 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds. Now, frankly, that's ridiculous. It is just insane speed. I thought the MG4X Power that I tested last week was quick. This is mind-alteringly quick. I have driven some ridiculously fast cars in my time. I spent 20 years selling Aston Martins, Porsches, Ferraris, all manner of stuff. You know, 959s, V8 Vantage, V600s. Nothing I've driven comes close to having the performance of this car. It is insane speed. Unnecessary speed, I might add, as well. Well, I say unnecessary. It depends on your kind of wants and gimmies, isn't it? Now, that 1.99 seconds, let me just clarify that a little bit. That includes what they call rollout. So in other words, when Tesla measure their acceleration times, they don't measure the first foot of travel, so the car is rolling when it's like a bit like a standing start, I suppose. Sorry, not a standing start, like a rolling start. So I suppose it's a bit like that. Even so, it will still obliterate standstill to 60 in a smidge over 2 seconds. You need a fast, powerful MotoGP bike, I think, to go quicker than this. You really do, because this is just, honestly, I don't even know how it's legal for Tesla to sell this to normal mortals. But there we go. Away from that, it's actually a very easy car to drive. Apart from the left-hand drive thing, so as long as you don't mind driving on the left, it's actually a very easy car to drive. Now, there's 3, effectively you can set it into 3 driving modes, again altered through the steering wheel, through the screen here. You've got chill, sport or plaid. You can also alter the amount of weight in the steering as well. So I've got it set in plaid at the moment, and I've got the steering set up in its heaviest setting, because I quite like a heavy steering, if I'm honest. I like to feel what's going on. And as I say, just pootling around here in plaid mode, it's no different to drive than, say, a Model 3, you know, single motor. It's as easy as that. It's as simple to drive. And that's the kind of thing that you struggle to kind of get your mind round a little bit, that something that is capable of delivering this speed is actually as easy to live with as this. So kudos to you there, Tesla. What's it like when we get away from the speed? It's all right. It's not. I'll tell you what it is that I'm finding. I've spent quite a bit of time with this car now. I've been living with it for a good while, and I've been driving it on all sorts of different roads. I haven't been able to do sort of like a Scotland trip, and I'd love to have taken this up to Scotland to see what it was like. But I've not been able to this week. Anyway, what's it like? It's all right. It's not a pin-sharp driver's tool. if you want something that is the last word in absolute scalpel sharp driver enjoyment, you're going to have to look at something like a Porsche Taycan or Audi e-tron. It's not that. The Tesla struggles to disguise its bulk and its weight. The Porsche, and even to some extent the BMW i7, when you get a hustle on with them, when you're stringing a set of bends together, the car feels like it kind of shrinks around you and everything kind of works in a really nice flowing manner. The Tesla doesn't. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just that it doesn't disguise its actual physical size the way the Porsche and to some extent the BMW does. So you do feel the weight of the car. You know, it's over 2 tons, this car. You do feel that. The ride quality is all right. I mean, it's got 21-inch wheels, and as I said, I'd probably choose the 21s because they look nice and they just felt the arches a bit better. But I genuinely don't think they're what's causing this sort of like the slight discomfort or the interference you're getting from the road surface. I think that's there just because of the way the spring and dampers are set up. And I've always found that with the Model S. It had a strange, I remember first driving it, it had a strange kind of pitching motion in it. It was like the front dampers were dealing with a bump, and then when the rears hit it, the fronts were still dealing with it, and it just felt like it was, I don't know, porpoising a bit, and the chassis just wasn't quite right. That element is still there. They have tweaked it and they have changed it, but there's an element of that still there. So yeah, it can't get away from the fact that it is a big, heavy car. There's no denying that. And therefore, that's when I think to myself, well, where, you know, if it's not a sharp driver's tool, is it then like a big, comfy limo? You know, like an EQS or the i7? It's not quite that either, because they say there's just too much interference from the road surface, and at 60 miles an hour, there's quite a bit of wind noise comes from the driver's window, just round about this A-pillar. So it's not as serene. I mean, it's not noisy in the sense of, you know, electric cars are, most of them are very nice and quiet and refined in some respects, but just at higher speed, it doesn't isolate you from the outside world like the BMW or the Mercedes does. So it's a really odd car to place. I mean, it doesn't make it a bad car, and that's not what I'm saying. It's just a really difficult trying to figure out who might kind of buy this car. I think it's quite good. It's sort of like if you're thinking of, you know, sort of like being a big kind of GT style of car, that's probably where it's going to be more suited to. You know, the sort of like, you know, the fast kind of open A roads. You know, sort of like those, you know, not small twisties, just fast open dual carriageways and A roads and that type of thing. That's probably where the Tesla's going to feel at its most comfortable. All right, so that's that. Brakes are very good because again you can play with the energy recovery, the regeneration, and it's a very, very good system. You know, you come off and it really slows the car down if you like that type of thing. I've not altered it at all, so I like the way that it's set up. It's a very safe car. Tesla are very hot on safety. You know, not just with the driving. Now, I'm not going to talk about autopilot because it does have it, which is obviously Tesla's kind of autonomy style of driving system. It's in its beta mode in here, and I must admit I don't really believe in it, so I'm not going to really talk about it. But what I will say is the safety systems on the car are very, very good. Like Hyundai and Genesis now, they've got the blind spot monitoring camera, so when you indicate, you get an image comes up of what's down the side of you. So if you were maybe in the middle of town or something, there was some cyclists and you were pulling across a lane, it would show you what's down the side of the car. The other thing is you can move where the image is on the screen, which is really nice. You can shift you can put it where you like, which I like. I do like that. What I don't like is this. This is what I don't like. Here we have a roundabout in the UK. And I am going to indicate to go all the way around this roundabout. So I press the thing on the steering wheel, and here we go. There we are, putting on lock, and I'm coming off the roundabout. Where? Oh, it's that one there to come up. That's just unnecessary. What was wrong with having them on an indicator stock? You've got to take your hand off the wheel, and you've got to think too much which one you need to press for your junction. I don't think that is a particularly safe thing to do, and you end up not indicating, and that's the problem. I really don't know why they've done it. As I say, I know Ferrari had the buttons and still have, but at least they're two separate buttons. Here they're just, it's one side of the steering wheel. You've got to figure out which one's which. And when you're locked up on a roundabout, you can't figure it out quickly enough. It's a really bad design flaw, that, and I really think they should really have thought harder about whether or not to put that on the car. There you go, that's my beef with that. Right, I can't really show a standing start in this car because I'm on public roads, you know, but trust me when I say this is just mind-warpingly fast. I just don't understand how you can go faster on four wheels than this car. I really don't. It's, you know, I've had people in this car and, you know, I've put my foot down and the squeals and, you know, kids love it, and my friends, you know, they were just, they couldn't get their head around how quick it was. It is a ridiculously fast car. You know, as I say, whatever you've driven, no matter how fast you think it is, I probably could guarantee you this will be quicker. See, here we go again, round and round a bit. I'm coming off this one. I don't know which one I'm pressing. Oh, it's that one. Ah, Tesla. You know, we're getting on so well with this car as well. You know, normally when I road test a Tesla, I get barraged with comments like, oh, you don't like Tesla and all this kind of stuff. This is a good car. I like this car. And then they put this silly bloody thing on it. Ah. Anyway. Summary on the drive of the car. It's good. I like it. As I say, it's a difficult car to place. As I say, it's neither fish nor fowl, and as I say, I don't mean that in a bad way. As I say, it depends obviously on what you want. As I say, if you think of it, if you want something that's a real driver's tool, a real engaging drive, then this isn't it. As I say, the steering, whilst communicative enough, still isn't pin sharp. And there's just too much. It's got adaptive dampers, and it's just, yeah, there's just too much interference into the chassis to allow it to flow. It can't disguise its weight at all or its size. That's the problem there. And it can't be the big comfy limo, because as I say, there's far too much interference coming from the road surface and external noises to be that kind of silent, kind of wafty car. So it can't be that. Now, I've not really mentioned the biggest kind of bugbear, I suppose, about the car, which is the fact that it is left-hand drive in the UK only. That's it. And that's just going to be dependent, obviously, on what you feel if you are in the market for buying this car. Now, I'm only living with it for a few days, and there has been a couple of occasions where it has been really irritating to have a left-hand drive car. Going to a car park the other day, my daughter goes back to school next week. We popped out to get a couple of bits and pieces that she needs. Pull into a car park to try and take the ticket, can't do it. You've got to get out the car, go around, take the ticket out, there's a queue behind me. That's irritating, no doubt about it. But that's one scenario. Could you live with it on a daily basis? That's only something you're going to be able to find out for yourselves and answer for yourselves. I can't do that. Personally, it probably would put me off. Personally. Depending obviously on whether or not, and as I say, there's not enough about the car to really love and get under my skin for me to say that would be a minor inconvenience. At that point, I would personally buy something like a Taycan because of that, because it's a sharper's car, it's my style of car, I really like the Taycan, and it's right-hand drive. But there is no denying this is a good car. This is a very good car. It's not the best, but it is my favourite Tesla. Now, when it comes to price, that's a bit tricky because, as I say, you can only buy what Tesla have in stock on their inventory. But the starting price for the Tesla Model S Plaid is £113,400. This particular car is optioned up to just over £120,000, so it's not a cheap car. Especially when you consider when the Model S first came out, it was a sort of £50,000, £60,000 car. So they really have elevated it up quite a bit in terms of its price. However, on saying that, that's not as much as you'd have to pay something like, say, a Mercedes-Benz EQS AMG 53 or a BMW i7 M70 or a Porsche Taycan Turbo S to get this sort of level of performance out of the car. So I'll stop short of calling it a bargain, but as I say, in terms of its competitors, it's not bad. Warranty, right, it's 4 years but only 50,000 miles, which isn't great, I have to say. However, the battery is the usual 8 years, 150,000 miles that it's covered for, so that's okay. But for us, the big draw with the Model S is, of course, the access to that supercharger network, which no other manufacturer can offer, and that is a big draw for Tesla. The competition for the Model S Plaid, it's not quite as clear-cut as you might think. The car's big, it's over 5 metres long, so you might naturally think it's going to be, and it's certainly at this price point, over £100,000, it's going to be cars such as I've just mentioned, the Mercedes-Benz EQS AMG 53, BMW's i7 M70, Porsche Taycan Turbo S perhaps. But as I say, in terms of its size, it's maybe a little bit closer in terms of the Mercedes-Benz EQE, and of course that's AMG models, and of course BMW's new i5 that's coming out, especially if they do a sportier version of that, you know, like an i5M perhaps. The other car you might also compare it to is Lucid, another sort of like, you know, new sort of like come around to the market. Now we don't get it here in the UK, but obviously it's in Europe now, the Lucid Air, which is a very, very similar style of car to the Tesla. In other words, it's 3 motors, ridiculous amount of horsepower, a huge amount of luxury and a huge amount of tech. So that's possibly a car you compare it to as well. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the new Tesla Model S Plaid. What we like is styling. That ridiculous straight line performance. It's quite well equipped to standard. It is comfortable. The improved interior design. And the range, efficiency and access to the best charging network you can get. We don't like. Well, the build quality is still way behind class best. Some of those interior controls just don't need to be as complicated. It doesn't really know what it wants to be, and the fact that it is only available in left-hand drive and you can only choose from Tesla's inventory. There's no denying that the main talking point that you're going to find with the Tesla Model S Plaid is that insane power output and that ridiculous straight line performance. But to do that is to ignore all the other qualities that make this what I think is the best Tesla I've tested for AutoEV. It's spacious, it's comfortable, it's got great tech on it, it's ridiculously easy to drive for something that's got this power output, or that is if you don't mind sitting on the wrong side of the car, of course. However, it is a very difficult car to place because it's not a pin-sharp driver's tool like, say, a Porsche Taycan Turbo S or an Audi e-tron GT RS. Nor is it as waftable as, say, a Mercedes-Benz EQS or the BMW i7, so it sort of falls between two stools. Think of it like this: if it's sort of like a big, heavy, 4-seat, 4-door GT car, and you're kind of getting there, think of it almost like a kind of modern electric 4-door equivalent of, say, like a Porsche 928 or the Mercedes-Benz SEC models from the 80s and 90s, and you're sort of getting there with it. So in other words, if you are afraid of flying and you want to get you and your family across continental Europe in a fast, comfortable, reliable way using the best charger network out there, this could be your car. Plus, it is so bloody fast. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Then once you've done that, press the bell button that's down there, because then that way you'll be notified if our next video is uploaded and goes live. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And as always, let me know your comments down below as well. Did you have a Tesla Model S on order and then cancelled it because they said left-hand drive only? Did it put you off? Let me know. Or does left-hand drive put you off at all? Do you think, well, that's just something I'll put up with to get a car like this? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now remember, we're also across all social media platforms as well, so Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn and TikTok, so give us a follow there as well, because that does help us. And if you're just in the mood to watch even more electric car reviews, then stick on the YouTube channel, because there's now over 150 videos, not just road test reviews, there's twin tests, used car buying advice, van reviews, motorbike reviews, and of course our Electric Icon series. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for continuing to support the channel. I'll see you again soon.